Everyone loves a blockbuster trade. And there's a reason why the trade deadline is a very exciting time in the hockey world. Two teams playing high-stakes hockey, trading away major pieces in hopes of creating more team success. And when a trade does occur, there's usually a declared winner and loser of the situation. And in some more extreme cases, these trades can either catapult a team into power positions, or they can seriously hinder a team's short-term success. However, there's also been many win-win trade scenarios that greatly benefited each team in the trade. In my last video, we discussed 7 teams that gave up on hopeful players that eventually turned into stars at the NHL level. And in today's video, we're going to go over 6 of the biggest win-win trade scenarios in the modern NHL era. And before I start this video, make sure to comment down below the biggest win-win trade scenario that you can think of, and make sure to hit that subscribe button for some more awesome hockey content. Guys, we are just absolutely killing it. I just can't believe your guys' support. It has been insane. My goal for all of 2020 was to hit 5,000 subscribers. We are already nearly there. You guys are just insane. I appreciate the support so much. We will start with Adam Larson for Taylor Hall. Psych. We will start with the notorious Phil Kessel trade from the Leafs to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kessel, who was actually acquired from a series of picks that turned out to be Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton, had a very eventful time with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Phil the Thrill was a great player. He was a high-end scorer for the Leafs and led the entire offense for 6 straight seasons. And Kessel was traded in the summer of 2015 to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Nick Smalling, Scott Harrington, Kasperi Kapanen, and a 2016 first and third round pick. And to be honest, at the time, this trade did seem to heavily favor the Penguins, but with the right asset management and the ripple effect that would soon unravel, it would be extremely beneficial for both teams. To start, Phil Kessel would join one of the best top 6 scorers in the entire NHL. He'd have career highs playing alongside of Malkin and Crosby, and in 2016 he would register 10 goals, 22 points, and 24 playoff appearances, and he'd help carry the Pittsburgh Penguins to winning a Stanley Cup championship, and of course Phil the Thrill's first Stanley Cup. And the next season, Kessel continued to dominate and had an even more impressive playoffs, putting up 23 points in 25 games to take home back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. And of course, us fans got to witness and appreciate the hot dog man. What an iconic photo. And so clearly the Pittsburgh Penguins benefited greatly from adding Kessel to their roster. And as for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they acquired Smalling and Harrington, both of which did not turn into NHL regulars, but they also received Kasperi Kapanen, who turned into a very solid secondary scorer who still has great offensive upside. And on top of that, they also got a first and third round pick. And the Toronto Maple Leafs actually ended up flipping that first round pick in 2016 for Frederik Andersen from the Anaheim Ducks, and the Ducks actually ended up drafting Sam Steele. But of course, with the acquisition of Frederik Andersen, they were able to acquire the backbone of their team. However, one of the biggest benefits the Maple Leafs would receive from trading a guy like Kessel is that they were finally 100% committed to the rebuild, and it really just couldn't have came at a better time. In 2015, they had a pretty treacherous season, but they were able to at least draft Mitch Marner with the 4th overall pick, and because they didn't have a guy like Phil Kessel in their lineup scoring, at least 20-30 goals per season, in the 2015-2016 season, they actually finished last in the entire NHL. They won the draft lottery with the best odds, and of course, this was the first year they implemented the new lottery system. And then, of course, they drafted their cornerstone player in Austin Matthews. And if you take a look at the standings, Toronto was only 1 point behind the Edmonton Oilers for last place. And I truly do believe if they still had Phil Kessel within their lineup, they still would have been a bottom team for sure, but they definitely would not have ended up in last place. Because, of course, when you add 30 goals to your lineup, that's going to win you at least, 3-4 games, or if not 5 games throughout the regular season. Especially when you consider the new draft lottery odds, so they were lucky to even get it even though they were last place. So the Phil Kessel trade helped the Penguins win 2 Stanley Cups, and it also led Toronto to acquiring a starting goaltender in Frederik Andersen and a cornerstone centerman in Austin Matthews. Next, we have Dylan Strome and Brendan Perlini traded the Chicago Blackhawks for Nick Schmaltz. Dylan Strome, the previous 3rd overall pick from 2015, had a very rocky entry into his NHL career. Strome was actually a monster in the OHL, just putting up insane totals, 129 points in his draft year, of course playing alongside of Connor McDavid, and Strome was seemingly developing into a high-end franchise centerman. And being that he was the 3rd overall pick from the 2015 NHL draft, which was a very stacked draft, there was definitely a lot of pressure on him to succeed. However, Strome was struggling to make the Coyotes lineup. He was kind of bouncing back and forth from the minors to the NHL, and Strome was struggling to produce with only 15 points in 41 NHL games, which definitely isn't terrible, but definitely underwhelming from a potential franchise centerman. And then, on November 25th, 2018, Strome was traded to the Blackhawks, and since then, his game has truly exploded. 51 points in 58 games last season, so just a massive improvement, and clearly he really just did well in a new environment, and 30 points in 40 games this season on a struggling Hawks team. And as for Brendan Perlini, who was also part of this deal, he was actually ended up getting shipped out to Detroit for Alex Regula, who's also a very good defensive prospect. And as for Nick Schmaltz, Schmaltz has been extremely good for the Coyotes. He's been producing really well, and he's currently leading the Coyotes in points, and Schmaltz has been much more reliable, and he really was what the Coyotes needed. Now, I definitely don't think he has the upside and ceiling that Strome has, but he's more reliable and have brought that instant, consistency that the Coyotes really needed in their lineup. And the Coyotes are one of the best up-and-coming teams in the whole NHL, and Schmaltz has been a massive part of that success. And so Strome was kind of in the wrong environment, and when he ended up going to Chicago, he really flourished, and Schmaltz has been a much more reliable core piece for the Yotes. Next, we had Jacob Trouba traded the Rangers for Neil Pionk and a first-round pick. Jacob Trouba was an elite two-way defender during his time with the Jets. He could play shutdown role, he played physical, and put up very impressive point totals, as he actually put up a career-high 50 points last season. Trouba this season has been good, but definitely not great, and I do believe within the next few years he will elevate his game and kind of bounce back from the season, but this season he does have 23 points in 48 games, he eats up massive minutes, and his advanced stats are pretty horrendous, and on top of that, Jacob Trouba also signed a massive $8 million 7-year deal, which is definitely a large factor why he left Winnipeg. I feel like Trouba is kind of in a rut right now, but I still do believe he has massive upside. He's a part of a very exciting Rangers blue line that now has two of the best up-and-coming offensive defensemen in Adam Fox and Tony DeAngelo. And then we have Neil Pionk, and Pionk has really broke out this season and is on pace for his best season yet. 32 points in 51 games, and Neil has amazingly taken over the ship on a torn-up Jets blue line. This season he's just really elevated his game and has demonstrated massive strides in his development. And the Jets also received their own first-round pick back from the Kevin Hayes deal to draft Ville Heinola. And it's kind of weird because Heinola has been struggling to produce in Liga, but he had some really good looks in his short stint with the Jets this season. He put up 5 points in 8 NHL games this season and had a great World Junior tournament. So the Rangers received Trouba, who is the more reliable two-way defenseman. He kind of is in a rut for the time being, but I do believe he still has upside. And the Jets received a massive discount on their cap, which was desperately needed to re-sign Laine and Kyle Connor. And of course, a future high offensive defenseman and Ville Heinola. Next, we have Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson. Seth Jones was a highly touted defenseman drafted 4th overall by the Nashville Predators in 2013. He developed extremely well and showed the upside of a high-end and well-rounded defenseman. But the Nashville Predators ran into a serious issue. Now, of course, the Predators are known as a massive pipeline for developing high-end defensemen in the NHL. Shea Weber, Roman Josi, Ryan Suter, Seth Jones, Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm, and the list just really goes on and on. However, the Predators were kind of in a position where they desperately needed to bolster their offense. And when Ryan Johansson, who just came off a 71-point season, was on the market, the Predators jumped on the opportunity and traded him 1-for-1 for Seth Jones. And today, when you look at this trade in terms of value, Seth Jones has slowly but surely developed into a top 2 defenseman, and to me, he definitely has more value, as Jones has just been an absolute superstar for the Blue Jackets blue line. 28 points, 51 games this season on a team that had many doubters coming into this season. But for a defensively heavy Predators depth chart, Ryan Johansson came in and added a whole new dynamic to their offensive system. And Johansson has continued to be a large player in the Predators offense and has consistently put up very impressive seasons. So the Columbus Blue Jackets acquired, that franchise defenseman, and the Predators were defensively heavy and acquired a cornerstone forward. Next, we have Dougie Hamilton, Adam Fox, and Michael Perlin traded the Carolina Hurricanes for Noah Hanifin and Elias Lindholm. Dougie Hamilton for the Carolina Hurricanes this season has really developed into a Norris quality defenseman. Unfortunately, he did just get injured, but he was on pace to challenge Roman Josi and John Carlson for Norris votes. 40 points in 47 games and an extremely impressive defensive game. And Dougie has really just continued to develop into the defenseman that he was really just predicted to be. And Adam Fox, who actually didn't want to sign in Carolina or Calgary, was shipped to the New York Rangers for a 2nd and 3rd round pick, and that 3rd round pick actually did have a condition which was met, so they actually got 2 2nd round picks. And then we also have Michael Perlin, who actually did have a very good time in Carolina, left this past offseason through free agency. And as for the Calgary Flames, they received a replacement defenseman in Noah Hanifin, and Hanifin has developed into a well-rounded top 4 defenseman. Hanifin has kind of regressed this season, but I still definitely do believe he has top 2 upside, but will definitely start to need to take some big strides in his development. And the Flames also received Elias Lindholm, and Lindholm has been a fantastic top 6 talent. He plays a very good two-way game, and actually last season, most people don't realize he was actually top 10 in Selke voting, and he had a career-high 78 points last season. So the Calgary Flames received better depth, whereas the Hurricanes received more of a building block player from their blue line. And lastly, we have Max Pacioretty traded to the Golden Knights for Thomas Tatar, Nick Suzuki, and a 2nd round pick. Pacioretty is a high-end goal scorer who was a superstar during his time in Montreal. 5 straight 30-goal seasons, including 2 nearly 40-goal seasons. He's very responsible his own end and is a great leader. And Pacioretty came to the Golden Knights organization last season. He did start a bit slow, but he really amped up his game by the end of the season and had a monstrous playoff performance, putting up 5 goals and 11 points in a first-round exit. And Pacioretty also did sign a 4-year, $28 million deal, which is honestly great value when you consider the contracts that are given out today. And this season, Patches has really found his groove, 47 points in 52 games, and he's on pace for his best season yet on a very impressive Golden Knights roster. And as for the Montreal Canadiens, they received the roster player in Thomas Tatar, the iconic Tatar, and Tatar has really rebounded his career in Montreal. In kind of an interesting fashion, the Knights actually acquired Tatar for a playoff push and gave up a first, second, and third round pick to the Detroit Red Wings, and Tatar came into the organization and really just didn't mesh well. He only put up a dismal 6 points in 20 games, which is an all-time low in Tatar's career. However, last season Tatar came back very strong, registering 25 goals and 58 points, and has followed up extremely well with 43 points in 50 games so far this season. And the Canadiens also received a 2019 second round pick in Nick Suzuki. And Nick Suzuki has been developing into a high-end forward for the Canadiens. 27 points, 50 games this season. He's getting better every single game, and all signs are pointing towards a scoring top 6 centerman. And some of you guys definitely may be thinking that Montreal kind of ran away with this deal, but you got to understand that Pacioretty was kind of brought in because the Vegas Golden Knights are in a, that Stanley Cup window. And, obviously Pacioretty is a big upgrade on Tatar. Nick Suzuki is kind of that potential guy. But the Vegas Golden Knights feel like they can win a Stanley Cup now, so they wanted more of a high-end roster player, which was definitely a big upgrade on Tatar, and unfortunately they did have to give up on Nick Suzuki, who is looking very promising for the Montreal Canadiens. Whenever a massive trade happens, we as fans get to sit back and just declare a winner. However, in most trade scenarios, it actually takes years to know who the real winner was in that trade, or like how I highlighted in this video, there can be many instances where both teams benefit greatly. Anyways guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to comment down below the best win-win trade scenario that you can think of. Also guys, on a side note, I do want to mention that these types of videos are not comprehensive lists, and in many cases I do plan on doing more than one video on this particular topic. But anyways guys, your support on this channel has just been insane. Like, I think we started this year, we're sitting around 2,000 subscribers. We are nearly on the road to 5,000 subscribers, which was my entire goal for 2020. So the support has been amazing. It's more than I could ever dream of. I'm really enjoying making these videos, and your support has just been insane. I know I say it every video, but you guys just keep upping and upping your support for the channel. Because if you guys didn't know or are new to the channel, I'm actually in school full-time. I work a full-time job outside of YouTube, and then I try to do YouTube at the same time. And it is very hard, but you guys' support just makes it a lot easier. It makes me feel a lot better, and I really enjoy making these videos. So guys, thank you guys so much for support. Again, if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Anyways guys, have a great day. See you guys later.